Hey everyone, it's Comrade Snake here. I'm coming in with another Fitna. This time we're going to be taking a look at Scenario 2, the fight against the Islamic State, 2014-2015. The scenario simulates the civil war in Syria and the struggle against ISIS at its maximum extent from summer of 2014, fall of Mosul and Raqqa, to summer of 2015 and the first defeat suffered by the self-proclaimed caliphate. So this is a 3-player scenario, 6 turns again. So this time the international tension is in effect, and that can lead to higher play cards. There's more cards, especially in the events, for stuff to happen. So we're going to see hopefully some more action and some more intense action by like international forces doing like bombing runs and stuff, and we could potentially even see intervention forces, but might not necessarily be likely. Now there is also an optional rule for an extra player to play ISIS, where they draw cards and do different things. I'm not going to use that. I am going to just play as if it's the normal 3, and then with the cards activating ISIS forces. So I'm gonna take hand cam for a bit here to kind of zoom up so you can see more of what's going on rather than the kind of overview, because it's a little big for where the camera place is right now. So here's the situation in southern Syria. Here's Damascus. Damascus has some Hezbollah units, so the Republican Guard Division and an armored division, their strongest armored division, all in Damascus. But there are some ISIS forces right outside that are connected over there. And then we got some rebel forces in the south down here, just mostly militia units to kind of cause problems. Then we go up a little before the north up to Tartarus, Latakia, and Homs. We got some weakened Syrian units with some Hezbollah militia to kind of stiffen the ranks a bit. Some regular militia with some decent loyal Syrian units with militia and more militia, and I think there's a somewhat of the Free Syrian Army left at this point. But the coup card is in play for this one, for both Syria and Iraq. We'll go to Iraq in a second. More militia, Kurd situation still the same, at least in the Syria area, or this kind of this region. There's also more different in the other Kurdish faction. The KDP is also active in this scenario. Here in the central area, I guess I should clarify something. Only Syria and Iraq are have active spaces. This scenario, there's no traversing outside, but there are still supply sources for certain factions. But anyway, we do have up in Palmyra an isolated and weakened Syrian government unit. A lot of ISIS counters out on the field, including al-Baghdadi, their one 2-step counter out here of a pretty strong unit, especially on the offensive. So we got him out there. He can stack with ISIS units. He can move and stack to add some significant combat power. We have an isolated, weakened Iraqi infantry division at Ramadi, so that's not looking great from there. And we have the rest of Iraqi, so there's this Kurdish forces, Iraqi forces. Right now, they're pretty severely weakened and strewn along. There's actually a misprint here, by the way. So there's Iranian units that can be used by the Iraqi player, like these Hezbollah militia, but they have a misprint where they don't have that RPG on the front, which is kind of funny. So they're out there to help stiffen the ranks with these pretty severely beaten up. And admittedly, even when they're full, they're not particularly good, but they're decent enough for fighting ISIS forces at least. Iraqi units. We got one good Iraqi mechanized division over here. There's also Shia militia that the Iraqi player can use. A good loyal tank battalion, Presidential Guard division, and more militias with a couple other decent units kind of in the back that were near Baghdad, and then some more infantry out here. So there is an Iraqi coup card as well that can come into effect, and there's the Free Iraq Army that can come out. And if that happens, they're controlled by the rebel player as well, so they can get victory points and stuff for controlling spaces in Iraq with the Free Iraqi Army if it comes up. There's a couple units down here in the south, a Marine battalion and an infantry division in Basra. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot else going on. Iran has forces that can be used by the Iraqi player in reinforcement batches. They have some reinforcements or some replacements here, and 2 reinforcement batches. Batch 1 is some Hezbollah militia and some Shia militia, and then reinforcement batch 2 is the Al-Quds division, Iranian special forces that can come in to help them out. So that's the situation there. Of course, there are different victory conditions. So, the Iraqi player wants to regain control over their important cities in the north. Syrian player wants to wipe out the rebels and keep ISIS from gaining too much territory. They still want to control stuff. And then there's Rebel player is trying to stay alive in Syria and keep an okay, like a toehold in there, or maybe foothold would be a better term, foothold there, and possibly in Iraq as well, if that card comes up. So that's the situation. Interesting 3-player battle. Once again, those asset cards we had before, and now that there's like multiple players, there can be other players kind of intervening on another one's side between combat. So it's going to get very messy, or potentially pretty messy. And so that should be a lot of fun. So yeah, scenario 2, we're going to roll into it on the next video and go from there. Should be a lot of fun. All right, catch you next time.